these are the promises I want to make to myself. I'm going to move country. I'm going to do this career. I'm going to study in the evening.
You know what you want for your life. So you need to stop being a scared little girl. You need to like get your shit together and just do it.
Studying in the evenings whilst working, the demand, the late nights.
At work, I kind of knew all the answers. People would come to me for stuff, and now I'm like, I don't know how to do this.
If I want to study graphic design or anything that is related to design, London is the place for me.
You're learning, and I think it's a very vulnerable kind of place to be in.
If I don't do it now, I never will.
This is where you're going to succeed, when you're going to leave your comfort zone.
I think that kind of changed my perception of myself a little bit as well. I can do this.
What has been the best and the worst thing about that process and experience of studying again? Welcome back to Enjoy the Collective, the home of independent creatives. And if you are seeking the real insights into the creative industry and you want to know what it takes to work for yourself, then you're in the right place. I'm your host, Marseille, and whether you're freelancing already, studying, have a creative business, creating as a hobby, or if you're somewhere in between any of that, then this is a space for you. I am really excited about today's episode. I am catching up with two remarkable individuals, recent graphic design graduates, both of whom I've had the pleasure of teaching. We are going to be diving into their incredible stories, ones of big move, life-changing events, career changes, and relocating, and doing all of this at a later stage in life. So I am sure that by the end of this, you all are going to be incredibly inspired. So let's get into it. I am so excited to introduce Zohar, who is a graphic designer who is London-based and soon to be Tel Aviv-based, and Cam, who is a brand designer and photographer who worked in MarTech for 14 years before then deciding to study graphic design. So I can't wait for this conversation. Are you guys excited?
Yes.
Good,
Yes.
me too. I'm excited. I really want to for me, talk to you guys as adults who have decided to go back into education, which can be a very difficult thing and a really challenging thing, especially you were both working at the time.
Yeah.
So for me, it's trying to encourage other people to take that leap and that step into something that may be difficult, challenging, and unknown, and knowing that it's going to be, I want to say it's going to be okay, but usually it's actually going to be okay. So I'll kick things off with, what is something that you have seen recently that has inspired you? So it can be, I don't know, like an exhibition or a book or a film, whatever, something that's inspired you recently.
I went to this exhibition at Saatchi Gallery. They have the Beyond the Streets.
Yeah, I was going to say, was it Beyond the Streets?
Yeah, the thing that I love the most in this exhibition, it's to see kind of the process of how something that was very
underground.
underground, and it became kind of it's almost, I feel like hip-hop culture, it's almost part of the pop culture today, because it became so mainstream, and I loved to see how it started from those small underground, from basically the streets, like they said, and just it became such a big thing. It has influence about almost everything today.
Absolutely everything.
I loved it.
And I think one of the things did you get to see it, Cam?
No, I didn't. But when I saw the poster, the first thing I thought of was you.
Oh, really?
I thought that would be just up your street.
I love the culture. I love this culture, really.
I think one of the things I really loved was that it covered such a wide spectrum of the influence of street art. So graffiti art, but then there was also the fashion aspect, jewelry, poster design, and then it took over the complete Saatchi Gallery. So it's all 3 floors was full of this, and then how fashion was then influenced in terms of, there's a bit, was it Ralph Lauren? No, there's that section at the back that you walk, it's you're walking through a store, and I think it was Ralph Lauren.
I think.
And so like even into like some of the mainstream brands and everything, and like how we speak, like, and beyond just like hip hop, because it was like the skateboard culture and everything, like it was insane and so rich. So I went with like two friends, and one of the girls, like she was saying that her boss was like, oh, it wasn't really good, like they wouldn't recommend her going, like it's not really worth it.
Right.
It's only £25, and we were there for like 2-3 hours because there was like so much to see. So we were just like, I don't know what your boss is on, but like, yeah, they're completely wrong.
Yeah.
What
I
about
love
for
that.
you?
So mine's actually Succession. It's my favorite show on TV. I think the writing is amazing.
It's really good.
The actors are just great. There was this one line that one of the actors said, and I kind of looked it up, and it was from a poem by Robert Frost.
Okay.
And it goes, the woods are lovely, dark and deep.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me say that again. So the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep and miles to go before I sleep. And I think it really resonated with me, just not so much in terms of my work, but in terms of where I am in my life. Because I think the whole idea with the promise is that I've always wanted to do graphic design, and I never really did. So kind of like promising myself that I'm going to at least try it and see how far I can get with it. And then with the miles to go before I sleep bit, I think I've kind of left it a bit too late, or at least I think I did. But it kind of reminds me that I kind of have to make the most of the time I have and just give it a go.
That's really lovely. And I really like that. It's funny because as you were saying it, I'm like, I've heard that before. Have you heard that before? The woods are lovely, dark. I've heard this before, like in a movie or something. I've heard it I think I've heard it in a movie.
So it was Nan Pierce who says it in Succession.
I'm going to Google it now because I'm like, it's going to bother me. I know I've heard it. I really like that. And I think what you touched on in terms of like making promises to yourself is something that I think sometimes we underestimate in terms of, I think we feel often more compelled to keep promises to other people, and that it's almost okay to break the promises that we make to ourselves. And often that means that we don't always fulfill the potential that we have, which is why I wanted to have you guys on, because one of the things that I found really inspiring was being able to see you guys as students who had lived a whole life before, right? You've lived a whole life, but then there was this catalyst that created the change to be like, do you know what? This career, this lifestyle I've lived, I'm actually ready to make a shift into something different. So for those who don't know, like both Zohar and Cam were working previously and then was studying graphic design in the evening until like 9:30 p.m. So like they would finish work, come to class, and then like be switched on to like start designing and creating. So what was the catalyst for you guys in terms of wanting to make that career shift?
I think for me in general, like I always was into design. I always wanted that this is what I want to do, but it took me time to understand. Because basically when you say I want to be a designer, it's like being in a room full of like 100 doors basically. You just need to choose the door that you want to go into. And then when I choose graphic design, obviously, like you open a door just to discover you're going into a room that's full with 100 doors again. So it took me time to understand which path I want to take. But you know the series Insecure. And
with Issa Rae.
And it was Girls. Sorry, with Lena Dunham, I think.
Oh, okay,
So there was like an episode there. This is like very cheesy, but it really like motivated me at that point. Like when she's going to an interview, and then the woman just like draw a circle on the wall. And she said, you see, this is like your comfort zone. And then she drew a dot out of the circle. And she said, this is where you're going to succeed when you want to leave your comfort zone. So I've been working at the same place for like 4 years, doing something that I didn't really want to do. It was like a ticket just to like move here, basically. And I was just like, you know what? Like life is too short. I need to take this, I need to do that before I'm gonna regret that. So going to like graphic design was like, I have to do that for myself. Like you were saying, like the relationship with yourself and the promises you're making. I was like, this is for
one.
you.
Yeah, I
for
love
sure.
that. It's so interesting that like it was this TV show, but that visual like picture of like the circle and then the dot outside is something that's like so simple. But then looking at it can feel really scary when you understand the context of like, I'm comfortable here, and then in order to like really like succeed and propel myself, like I have to step outside of that, and that is not. It's not a simple thing. It's really not. What about for you, Cam?
I think the whole comfort zone thing really resonates with me as well, because that's exactly the same. I kind of got to a point in my life, I think maybe age as well, where I was like, if I don't do it now, I never will. I grew up in South Africa, and when I was a kid, like I was really into graphics. I remember like I used to do posters and stuff for my family's business, and I started off with Coral Draw and clip art. I remember like borrowing Coral Draw. I remember borrowing Coral Draw. It was like came in like 10 floppy disks to install into like Windows 95. It was like a long time ago, but yeah, that's how I kind of started. And I never really thought of it as a career. So it was something I was interested in, but not as a career. I was never really encouraged. I remember in school, I said I wanted to get into advertising, and they were like, "Get that idea out of your head." Like,
is this in South Africa still?
Yeah. So because I think I kind of grew up in a very traditional environment, so people became accountants, lawyers, doctors, that kind of thing. So even though I was always interested in the creative side of things, I never really went down that route. I ended up doing business and marketing. That was like the closest I could get
to something creative. Right? Yeah, got it.
So it's kind of like goes back to the whole thing about I was working for like the last 14 years in online advertising, but on the tech side, so not the creative side again. And it got to the point where I was like, I need to do this now, or I just never will.
I think what that's interesting that you touched on is that no one really like encouraged you to pursue that career. And for both of you, like, do you think that's really important? Do you think if you had like someone who was like championing you, cheerleading you, that you would have made that step sooner? Or would it have not really actually made much of a difference?
Personally, I think for me, it definitely would have.
Okay.
But then saying that, it would have been a totally different path that I would have taken, and it may have been very different. So I think where I am right now, it's because of all the things that happened previously. I ended up doing bits of creative stuff. So I worked in a print company for a while, which I absolutely hated, but I learned so much.
Okay.
I learned how to use Illustrator there, and like learned about colors and all of that stuff. And like as I said, when I was a kid, I created all these posters and stuff. So there's always been these bits and pieces that has led me to where I am now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it would have probably been very different if I was encouraged at the beginning and it was something I could have done.
For me, I guess it's like the exact opposite, because I'm coming from a very like, I guess, liberal family. Like, do whatever you want to do. Like, we trust you to make the right decisions. But it was like more me. I needed to like push myself, believe myself, and it was something that was hard for me to do, because I was in a film major, like at school. I was studying when I was living in Israel before I moved here. I was getting ready to uni. I was actually accepted to university already, but I chose to like come here and do that. I used to tattoo. I used to like draw. I used to like do a lot of stuff. And my surrounding was always like, you can do it. Like, you can do big stuff. And I was like, well, I don't really know, like I was very insecure. So like, this is what, like, the hardest relationship, it's with yourself and believing in yourself. It's something that is really hard to do. So I guess like after I was like, you can do that, trust yourself. It took time. Like, it took me until I was like 27 until now to be like, just do it. You can, So
it's so true. Like, I think, I mean, there's a lot of like self-care content, you know, like live your truth, love yourself. And a lot of it is like, you know, take bubble baths, drink wine. But when we actually talk about like self-care, what you're saying about having that relationship with yourself, making promises to yourself, and actually loving yourself enough to fulfill those promises like for you, for me, that's like real self-care. And then the wine and everything is like nice
just
to have.
an extra.
Yeah, it's like a little extra, a little like sprinkle. So you spoke about like, obviously like for you, like being able to like, I guess, have confidence in your own self. And then for you, you were talking about like, you know, having that support system would have been nice. So for both of you, when did you make that like jump and that leap? Maybe it wasn't even a leap. When did you make the move from like your home country to the UK? And then what was the catalyst? Because you said that you already was accepted into university in Israel, right?
Yeah.
But you decided to actually come to London.
Yeah.
So what made you make that choice?
Well, first, before COVID hit, I used to live in Spain. I enjoyed the European culture. It's very, very different from the Middle East. This is like living in two different worlds, basically.
Okay, wow.
So when I got back home, it was hard for me to like kind of like accept my environment in some way.
Right.
I was like, I want to go back to that. For me here, it's super relaxed. Like this city, it's like I'm in Hawaii right now, okay? Like I'm chilling. Like even like with everything that is going on, like the lifestyle here it's so different. Obviously, there's the difficulty in the Middle East that are like very special to this area. But for me, I was like, okay, I got into university, but I was in a point when I'm like, listen, you know what you want to do. You know what you want for your life. So you need to stop being a scared little girl. You need to like get your shit together and just do it. Like you can't lose anything by moving to London. It was scary. Like I was basically moving here by myself. It's like packing everything, saying goodbye to all the friends, all the family. But I just decided like London is like an amazing city. It's multicultural. So even if I'm gonna miss home, there are so many like Israeli people here, so many people from like the Middle Eastern culture. I'm gonna find myself. It will be fine. But I was like, I want to study in London because I know if I want to study graphic design or anything that is related to design, London is the place for me. So I was just like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna move, and I'm so happy that I did that. Honestly,
glad you did too. What about for you, Sam?
So I moved here at the end of 2000. It was just for looking for new opportunities, I think.
Did you move with your family or did you move?
I moved with my sister and I moved over together.
Okay.
My parents came over with us and they kind of like stayed with us for a couple of weeks and then they were like, bye-bye.
Wow.
So yeah, and we lived with them before that. So I'd never really lived on my own. So it was a big learning curve. It was it was scary at the time, but it was very similar. It was like a point where you grow up and you kind of like, okay, decide, okay, now you're an adult, you have to do stuff. But I think even at the time, I didn't really think that design was something I could do. I just didn't have that belief that it was something like, yeah, it just never really occurred to me. So I kind of like looked for different jobs. I fell into online advertising, which I really enjoyed for a long time. My role kind of changed as I progressed. I was there for like a very long time. And that's when I kind of decided that, okay, design is what I want to do. I did a few like short courses in between.
Okay.
And then did the Shillington course.
So talk a bit about like what you do, what you were doing for work, and then like whether like, I guess for you, graphic design would have been a transferable skill that potentially.
To an extent. So I worked in online advertising.
Yep.
I worked for an ad server. So it's the technology that puts ads out on the internet. So I ended up working with like alongside creative shops or our in-house creative team, but it was more on the strategy, the execution side of things. So we did a lot of dynamic ads. So targeting people and all that stuff. So yeah, I kind of like worked with them said what we needed, but I never really got to do the creative side of things. So
do you think that experience benefited you in any way when you were studying? Or not really?
No, I think it definitely did. I think my past experience, like working in the print company, helped as well. The online advertising definitely helped in terms of just like design principles, like understanding what an aesthetically pleasing ad would look like and that kind of thing. So I think there was that. The technology behind it is also interesting as well. But I didn't really get to do the stuff I wanted to do, like going to Photoshop and like actually creating an ad. Or
hence why you were like, I need to study.
Exactly.
Yeah. What about for you, Zohar? Because I know like your job was really demanding.
Yeah, it was different. It was very difficult for me. There was like the good thing about studying and basically having, it was like the break from being in a routine that you don't really like.
Wait, so just explain a little bit about what it is that you were doing.
I'm working for an airline company, basically at the airport. Just working mostly, questioning people, checking like luggages, stuff, very security, normal stuff, I guess. And it's something that this is not what I want to do in my life, basically. And it was very, very demanding. Like I'm working almost 200 hours every month. And doing this and studying, it was, from one hand, I was like, there was days, especially at the beginning, I remember I was struggling with the English. I was crying at the end of every lesson. No, but it was like, I was crying. I was like, I feel like I don't understand and I'm not being understood. Like this was in my mind. But afterwards, I was like, you know what? I love challenges, okay? You love challenges. Just like win, be the winner. And that was what's going on like in my mind. I was like, I will work on my English. I will understand. I'm not gonna not speak at classes because I do have stuff to say. I feel like I was talking a lot during the class.
Well, this is what I'm saying. It's so interesting like hearing your perspective, because for me, like you were always one of the first that had an answer, like one of the first to always put their hand up and like so confidently express like your ideas or what you thought. And even if you didn't understand something, I remember like if I was like coming around, you'd be like, sorry, I didn't understand like what this word is. Can you explain it to me? And for me, like that is, I would never have known that was what you were thinking or feeling, because do you know what I mean?
Exactly the same. I would have never realized that.
I feel like in my mind, I got into this like state of mind where I was like, fake it until you make it. Like it's like you're faking a smile until it will become like a good, like a real smile. So this was like my idea, because I was like, I can feel sorry for myself. I can be like, oh, I'm tired. Oh, it's like, it's not my first language, the hours are hard and stuff like that. I can be that crying baby, or I can choose to be a strong like person that will handle this thing. And this is what the kind of person that I want to be, so I'm just gonna be it. And just like the one thing that I never got used to was the classes at Thursday, because usually like we used to like end at like 9:30, I think.
It was 9:30.
Got home usually around like 11, something like that. And every Friday I used to start working at like 2 a.m. So I was like getting home, sleeping for 2 hours, getting like all fresh as much as I can, sleeping in the cab, which that was like the good thing, that it was a cab that taken me. Otherwise I would have like,
I have no idea how you managed to do that.
It wasn't until like later on in the course that I was made aware of what your job was.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I would have known that was your routine, because you always seemed alert in class and like really like on top of things. So I would never have known you were running on like 2-3 hours of sleep.
Yeah, it was a lot of coffee, a lot of comforting food, and a lot of like weekends that like were full of like sleep. I remember like during the whole course, like, let's go to a party. My friend was like, let's go to a party, let's do this, let's do that. I'm like, listen, do not speak to me this weekend. This is my time. Like, I need that. I think it was just like to understand how to like, there wasn't balance. There was just like, just find the time to relax, because you need that. Like even doing homework and stuff like that.
I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
there
how was that? Where did you find the time? Because
Yeah.
you were working full time as
So
well.
I was working full time as well, but I think so. Yeah, with lots of late nights, pretty much every weekend I would work. I think my body clock was completely like messed up for at least 6 of those 9 months.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. How did you find the process of learning? Like, there's obviously a lot of stigma around like learning again as an adult because our brains are not as malleable. Like, I know there's the practical side of the routine, but like, how did you find learning something new and taking that in and then being able to like practice it?
Yeah, so I think for me, because I had knowledge of like the Adobe suite, I think there wasn't that much of a learning curve there. InDesign was something I didn't use, so that was.
But it's probably like the easiest one of the 3.
If you know the others, it kind of helps. Yeah. So I think that was fine, but what I struggled a bit with was the process side of things.
The process. I remember he was like, "Do I have to do this?"
Yeah,
it was like, "Well, this is how you generate ideas."
Yeah, because like I think before that I would just go straight onto the computer. So it was like doing freelance before that and directly onto the computer. Maybe do a little bit of competitive analysis and then go into the computer, put some things together, play around, and like, oh, this looks cool, and then that was it. But yeah, kind of having to learn that process, having a structured process in place, was a bit of a, like, I had to relearn that, and the discipline to follow that was quite tough. But I think it definitely made me a better designer. Like thinking about like design principles or the so what's it called again?
The idea generation stuff.
What's
it? Concept development.
Design thinking.
Design thinking.
Like thinking about the design principles and design thinking is now part of my process.
Yeah. What about for you?
I think, I agree with Kim. I think that it's as we getting older, obviously, I don't want to say you still open-minded if you are this kind of person, but it's really hard for you to be as open-minded as you used to be when you were younger.
You get set in your ways a bit.
Yeah. So for me, it was, I think it's hard for me to sit in a class in general, like sit anywhere and listen and like be focused for a long time. So this was like one part that I was struggling with. But I think just like Kim said, just understand the whole process. Like when it comes to like branding, I remember when we started to study about branding, it was such a long process, and you want to be like, I just want to, I just want to
make
I just want to get to the end. So you really need to learn how to trust your mentors, trust the process. Like you need to rely on other people and not on yourself. Like you need to kind of let go of the control, because we came from our job, we know what to do, we know what we're doing, and then we're suddenly going to a place when I don't know what to do, I need to learn. So it was getting used to okay, I don't know everything.
I think that's such a real point in terms of when you get to adulthood, as you're adulting, there's not really many times where you're in that space where you're brand new.
It's brand new.
And you're unconfident. Unconfident, is that a word?
Yeah. It's a word.
Make it a word. You're not confident in your ability, and you don't know, you don't have answers, and you're learning. And I think it's a very vulnerable kind of place to be
definitely. As you get older, I think you find yourself less in that position. So it's definitely something that's I found vulnerable in that situation where so I said, at work I kind of knew all the answers. People come to me for stuff, and now I'm I don't know how to do this.
That's the crazy part. So we spoke about studying in the evenings whilst working, the demand, the late nights, much coffee. What was the first thing that you created that you were proud of, where you were like, oh, I might actually be all right at this?
I feel like there were a lot of projects that we do, like we did. I think my favorite one, I think, was the magazine, probably.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember yours.
really enjoyed it,
Yeah.
and the handmade project. I really enjoyed doing this. I was like very satisfied with the
What was your
result.
handmade
your
again?
handmade was great. It was melt, right?
The melt
Yeah.
one, yeah. The
Oh, the
Kalani
Kalani.
The ice cream.
cover.
Yeah.
I really liked it, and actually, I loved yours in this project as well. It so professional. Like I loved it,
Yes, I liked it as
honestly.
well.
Oh, yours was the small
It's
world.
the little people.
Yeah. I think that one gave me like kind of like the push that
So the
I
handmade.
needed. Yeah.
That was quite late into the course.
Yeah, I know.
Do you know what's so funny? I remember like one of your first projects, which was the Dr. Martens one.
Oh yeah.
And I remember like walking behind and being like, oh my gosh, like she's so close. Like,
yeah, I remember.
I was just like, she's so close. Like, if she just, so I remember you had like duplicated like the shoe, the boot.
Yeah.
And you had like multiple on the screen. And I was like, if you just had a few more, and then I think you had one that was the
Like
right way
that.
around or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
I was like, literally, if you had a few more and made them smaller, that one that you had would have just like stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, oh, she's so close, she's so close. But yeah, it's a process. It's a process.
Yeah.
And what about for you, Cam?
So I think I've got two. One was the film poster that we had to do
raid.
for the
I knew
raid.
he was going to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with that one, I came up with a whole lot of different ideas.
Yeah.
And the one that got the best feedback when we did the quiz in class was the one that I'd spent like the least amount of time on because I thought it was too simple. And I think I learned from that really simple design can be really effective. So that was one where I kind of thought, oh, I can actually do this. This is good. And then the rebrand for the museum. So the little logo, I know we went back and forth a lot on that one because it just wasn't quite right. But then I ended up getting it to where I just love it.
Yeah.
And I think with that one, I incorporated some drawing as well. And I never really considered myself an illustrator at all before. I didn't even think I could draw. But
That's
I took
crazy.
the time and drew that. And yeah, like over the 9-month course, I did quite a few like hand-drawn things. So I think that kind of changed my perception of myself a little bit as well. I can do this.
Yeah.
So those were the two. Yeah.
It's interesting because, you know, when you were touching on the crit that we would have in class, what was that like? Like you're learning something new and then now like everyone is like critiquing you as you're learning. You're like, this is not the time. Like I'm not, it's not there yet. Like how was that?
I think personally for me, I found that whenever I really liked something, I found that other people liked something else. So that kind of like broadened my view, I think, a little bit. Where I kind of they saw things that I didn't see beforehand. But yeah, it was always really nerve-wracking, and I don't really like that process. But it's so helpful. I totally.
To this day, I don't like it. I don't like sharing my early work. I get so precious about it, and then you want to explain, you want to like give a defense as to why, but really, it is helpful because it allows you to see any blind spots that maybe you have because you get so like into a project and so like what would I call it, like creative blindness in a way.
I kind of like those moments because like I didn't like to be like on spot. I feel like when you show your work, it's like you're becoming so, I know I won't be able to say this word with my accent, vulnerable. Yeah, exactly. So like you get to that like point when like everyone like just staring at what you did. But it's kind of like I liked it because I felt like I needed that for myself in order to like become better. And the thing is, as Kim said, is that you can like something and other people won't like it, while like you can hate something and everyone be like, oh, I love that, you know. So it's really like about taste. So every time that we had critiques, I was like, I'm taking it to like I'm gonna listen to that, but at the end of the day, it's really like just everything in design. It's really a matter of taste. So you just need to take it in like don't get offended, don't take it like in a personal way.
Don't take it personally. I think that's a big part of that whole process. Like learning to not take things personally is it's a difficult thing
It is.
To do, but yeah.
But then sometimes you get so tired, you're like, sure, have your opinion, sure, whatever. What has been the best and the worst thing about that process and experience of studying again?
I think the best thing was just like doing something that I love. And just, your brain started to work again, because as we said, like we're not used to study at this age. So to have my brain like working again and all the wheels are kind of like, moving around, I really enjoyed that. The worst thing was like to have a job while you were studying. That was like, I guess, the worst part of that, because the journey was good. All the stuff around was.
Yeah, I think for me, the best thing was being in an environment where people were learning, and a creative environment. So it was very different to my day to day. So that was definitely a motivation to go in. You kind of saw the same people every week, so you kind of made friends, and it was nice just being in a group, learning with people. And I think the worst thing was probably just the late nights and weekends, just working and stuff. So
it's funny because like one of the things that we used to talk about a lot about you guys was that how quiet our class was. So when you say we made friends, I'm like, did you know? It was so quiet, and I only really noticed it when I would cover other classes. So Rich's class, the Monday Tuesday class, like you would hear them before they like came into the classroom. So we was in the staff room, and you would like literally hear them coming in, like da, 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 da. Like you have to quiet them before you could even like start. And then they like with us like 9:30, let's go. Everyone's grabbed their stuff, gone. They want to hang out. They want to talk. They're walking around. I'm like, guys, like it's 9:30 p.m.
Yeah, that's just
like,
way too late. Yeah.
Like, and Rich was telling me that he's like, because sometimes we go to the pub. 9:30 p.m. on a Monday or a Tuesday. That's crazy. Is there anything that you would do differently? So this whole journey of, these are the promises I want to make to myself. I'm going to move country. I'm going to do this career. I'm going to study in the evening. Is there anything you would do differently?
I don't think so. I feel like I wouldn't have been as satisfied as I am right now if it wasn't so hard. If it would have been like too easy, I would like, okay, I've done that, But I really enjoyed when you're working really hard for something, you just appreciate it more. And I'm so happy, and I learned a lot about myself. Like I can work under pressure. I'm functioning, like I'm doing it well. I can do that. So I'm really grateful to have this experience, to learn about myself. Like I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah, and I think very similar. I think I would have probably liked to have done it earlier on. I think I probably wouldn't be here right now in this situation if I did. So yeah.
Do you have any like advice or tips for anyone who is thinking about making that, I guess, like career change or even studying like as an adult later on in life?
Just do it. Honestly, like just
that's the advice, just do it.
No, because sometimes like the fear itself is more scary than the actual thing that you want to do.
That's true.
So I mean, you have honestly like even like the only thing that I felt that I lost like doing it, it's like sleeping hours. Other than that, honestly, like I didn't lose anything. Even if at the end of the course I was like, you know what, this is not for me. Okay, so like, but I learned something. I did something. Like, just honestly, just like go for it. If you want it enough, just work hard, and it will be worth it. Honestly.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think just taking some form of action, even if it's just as a starting point, just doing some research, like looking at different colleges and like looking at YouTube videos, like just do something to start the process. Because like I think it's the worst thing, like being in a stagnant situation And like it goes back to that comfort zone thing, like getting out of your comfort zone. You have to take
Yeah.
some kind of action, even if it's wrong. At least you've done something.
Yeah. I was gonna say as well, like, you know, you both ended up studying at Shillington. Why did you choose that course? And like, what was your research process like? Was you looking at other places, or had you already known that that's where you would go?
I got recommendations about studying there. Also, like for me, as I said, it's really hard for me to sit down for a long time and listen, basically. So I felt like, okay, this is a very like focused course. So this is like exactly what I need. I need to like get down to business as soon as possible.
Right.
And obviously, like the hours were comfortable. The small, I really enjoyed that we had like a small class.
Yeah, me too.
Obviously, like we were very quiet and very tired most of the time.
It's true.
But I mean, like I really enjoyed the fact that like it was very, I felt I wasn't. You don't feel judged. You don't feel. You just like enjoy each other, and I enjoy like the other people that came. So I feel like it was a good decision to go on that.
Yeah, I think for me it was a similar thing. I googled a whole lot of different options, but yeah, the timing of when the course ran was good. Everyone being in a similar situation, I think, was really helpful as well. Yeah, a part of me wanted to do the 3 month intense course, but I'm so glad I did the part-time version of that, because it kind of gave us a bit more time, I think.
Yeah.
I think this,
Till this day, like I don't understand how people did like the 3 months course.
3 classes graduated whilst you guys were studying the 9 months. And I always found that so crazy, because I do think with design you need time. You need time to think. You need time to like go away and like just not think, and like time to reflect so that you can revisit the project. And I think just intensely working on something for 8 hours just doesn't work for me. I need that like break up, and being able to see different things, do different things, and then come back maybe the next night and then think about it. But yeah, the full timers, they're troopers. I covered their class, and I was like, even for me, because you start at 8:45.
Yeah, really early start.
It was at 8:30. It's like 8:30 or 8:45, and I was like, yo, like, I remember because I covered in the winter. I woke up and it was dark, and I went home and it was dark, and I was like, I can't do that.
It's really tough.
I can't do that. Final question: what does the future hold for you guys?
Yours is more interesting than going back home.
Well, it's my last 2 weeks in London, unfortunately, because I'm in love with the city. Honestly, if you had like more sun here, I would have stayed forever.
I think everyone would stay a bit more if there was more sun.
Going back home to the Holy Land. I'll be, I guess my future is kind of like, I still need to like build some stuff, but I really want to take a course for digital marketing and social media management, just so I'll be able to kind of like provide more services. Just moving to Tel Aviv basically with a friend we already know that like we're gonna live together, and just like honestly I'm so like hungry. I don't know how to say. I just want to get like to find a job already. This is like, because even like the decision to live here, it was like just like a light bulb that just like turned on in my brain. I was like, you know what? Just stop with this job. You don't like it. You don't enjoy it. Just go and do graphic design. This is what you want to do. So I'm like, I just want to get to Tel Aviv already and find a job and just like start working and have enough money to come back here and get a visa or something. Like, this is like, my plan.
Yeah, I think with me, freelancing, it's still early days in that whole process. So like my priorities right now is just getting enough work in to survive. I think like, even if I had to get a job to kind of subsidize that, it's just thinking about the job as being the side hustle and my design practice being the actual job. But yeah, just see how it goes.
And where can people find your work? Just a time for you to plug.
Yeah, mine is like, well, honestly, it's kind of like doesn't feel good, but I have problem with my domain. So like, I'm still working on my website. I'm trying to figure it out because I'm really bad with technology. I'm still like working on it. But Instagram, I feel like Instagram, Facebook, I can like.
Is it just at Zohar?
Yeah, it's like Zohar Design on Instagram.
Cool.
So if you're like looking, just type it in and. Yeah, I'm really like into branding and 3D stuff. This is like what I'm
I saw your Adidas thing. That looked really cool.
I'm kind of hoping that they will see it and be like, come on.
Did you tag them? Did you tag them?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
I feel like I'm just like, I'm their little fan. I'm like I'm an Adidas girl, obviously. So, yeah.
Cool.
For sure.
Cool. Yeah, you can find me at camcreativestudio.co.uk, and I'm on Instagram, camcreativestudio as well.
Amazing. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yay. Oh, that was really nice. It was so nice like catching up with you guys as well.
I had so much fun.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Be sure to subscribe for more insightful content. For insights and resources on related topics, head over to our Patreon at patreon.com/enjoythecollective. We're continually crafting tools to help you and your creative business to thrive. If you're catching us on platforms like Spotify, Apple, etc., be sure to like. Your ratings and feedback truly make a difference in helping us to grow. Finally, a heartfelt thank you to the creatives who made this season possible. Braid Films, Woom Zoom, with music by Tracy Soothes. This podcast was recorded at Us 2 Studios in London. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to always enjoy.